Like many of my colleagues, I have attended and spoken at a number of college and law school graduations and commencement. I had the great privilege of speaking to the graduates of Post University on Saturday and at the Quinnipiac Law School just yesterday. Both wonderfully exciting and rewarding days full of celebration and pride, well justified joy and pride in the great accomplishments of these graduates, and more than their past accomplishments, their contributions of the future. These young people are our future. And I spoke to them about the challenges and responsibilities that come with the great privilege of having education from great colleges and universities, undergraduate and law school, the opportunities for public service, to be a champion of rights and responsibilities, to advocate for people who need their voices and their advocacy, and the responsibilities and opportunities for public service. Each of them has a great opportunity to give back to our country and to use that education to better all of us as well as themselves. And yet, they are leaving college and law school burdened with debt that would have been unthinkable and even unimaginable a decade or so ago. The average in Connecticut is $27,000 of debt per graduate from undergraduate education today. And what I have done over the last 2 days, over the last 2 weeks, over the past months, is really to listen to our students at every level, high school, as recently as Friday at Bassick High School in Bridgeport, college throughout the state of Connecticut, crisscrossing our state to talk on campuses at roundtables with students who are burdened, indeed financially crippled with debt that would have been indeed unthinkable and unimaginable when I was going through the same education. In those days, working to pay for college was possible. Today, the tuition costs are so high, it is impossible. And listening to students across the state of Connecticut, I have heard their stories. I have listened to the amounts that they owe and the levels of interest that they have to pay. Each of them here by first name, whether it is Buckley at $56,000 or Jerry at $260,000. I could go through them one by one, story by story, voice and face, each with great accomplishments and great potential achievements for the future for our nation. And yet they leave college and law school burdened by these debts, and these are only a few. I have promised to come here to tell their story. And I will tell their story. Not all of them, but as many as I can. Not all today, but as many as I can over the next days and weeks, because each of them simply wants a fair shot at American opportunity, at the American dream, at the America that all of us thought was possible for all of us when we went to school. A fair shot at the American dream and opportunity in the workplace, at home, in our society. I'd venture to guess that every senator in this body would agree that higher education offers a path to success for hardworking students. There's nothing controversial or partisan about that notion. And an opportunity to move more Americans into the middle class is what education does for our nation. It secures our middle class and enlarges and enhances it. So investing in higher education really offers a fair shot to everyone seeking to make something of himself or herself, to earn a higher standard of living. And the professional innovators, business creators, and thinkers that the system will give us from all kinds of backgrounds all across the country and certainly in Connecticut. So what we need is to maintain educational success so we can sustain our success in a global economy and confront the challenges ahead. Attending college or graduate school or technical school is a great opportunity, but also a great responsibility. And students understand that they are taking on a significant obligation with the understanding that they will pay it back. None of them goes into these debts lightly, thinking that they can just avoid it. And they are well aware that these debts, by and large, are non-dischargeable in bankruptcy, unlike most other debts. They're told, and they rightly expect, that these additional qualifications will enable them to find a good job and go on to a successful life and have a fair shot at the American dream. And they're willing to work for that success, and they're willing to pay back these debts. But too often, they are not given or afforded the opportunity, realistically, to earn at a level that enables them to reach these goals, which leaves them with a financially crippling debt that serves no one. Working people who bear a heavy debt burden have to make tough choices about getting married, buying homes, and having children. Entrepreneurs are blocked from starting new businesses. The risk takers and job creators of America have to go to other lines of work where their contribution is derivative, dependent on others, rather than inventing and innovating and starting new businesses. The risk-taking that is the foundation and core of the entrepreneurial spirit in America is inhibited, indeed impeded, and sometimes crippled by these debts. These consequences are so widely understood, Madam President, that I hesitate even to take the body's time to recount them now, and yet United States student debt totals $1.2 trillion, much higher than it's ever been before. I've listened in roundtables to its personal impact on our citizens and their children. And I'm here to tell their stories about Brittany, for example, who's the first in her family to attend college, took out loans to attend school. She's over $100,000 in debt, and her school does not offer much in financial aid. Elise, the mother of three, went back to school when her children were young because she says, and I'm quoting, she wanted to make sure they had an example to follow when they finished high school, end quote, and she wanted them to, quote, push forward and excel in their lives. And she wrote to me, quote, I knew that when I finished, I would have to pay back those debts. What I didn't anticipate was that I would still be paying those debts when my children started going to college, end quote. She's now $46,000 in debt, and her loans carry a 7% interest rate. Now, our economy is still recovering from the greatest recession probably in most of our lifetimes. We need people like Brittany and Elise to participate, young women to invest in the future. We need to invest in them, and they need to feel secure in their ability to support their children. But the mountains of debt confronting students and graduates today are overwhelming. So I'm proud to be here with my colleagues to support their fair shot, all of our fair shot in the future, because we live through our children. They are our future. It's a platitude we repeat so often, but it is true. And these interest rates are, first of all, unconscionably and unfairly high. Many of them are variable, so they can continue in their unprecedented rise when interest rates begin going up again. And the money that comes from increased payments is nothing but profit for the federal government. The federal government is scheduled to make more than $50 billion in profit on the loans that it makes this year. We should see higher education as an investment, not as a revenue opportunity. These students are our future, not a profit center. And we ought to set repayment based on what is in students' and graduates' best interest. It's our best interest as well. So I'm proud to join my colleague, Senator Elizabeth Warren, in introducing legislation that would allow borrowers to refinance their student loan. I'm proud to join my colleagues in an effort to enable refinancing of student loans at more affordable rates, just as they do car payments and house payments. We can't forget about current graduates with existing debt. As much as we want to make available more aid through Pell Grants, lower interest rates on loans being made now, opportunities to seek paying down those loans based on public service, more disclosure, and more accurate disclosure through the kinds of measures that Senator Franken has introduced, and I've joined him. But right now, we can take this profoundly significant step by supporting a measure that enables refinancing of student loans so that everyone has the benefit of the best, lowest, most affordable interest rates. I believe that graduates who pursue public service ought to have the opportunity to pay down those debts in ways that are expanded, made more flexible, and more accessible to more of these graduates. They're necessary to everyone's health and safety, whether they're teaching or policing or firefighting or advocating for people who need legal assistance or caring for people as doctors in areas where they're needed. Those public service opportunities, as I told the graduates at post-university and at the Quinnipiac Law School, ought to be expanded and enhanced for them and all our students around the country today, as well as those who have graduated in recent years. Let's make sure that, in the meantime, people who have this grinding, financially crippling debt that overhangs them and inhibits economic growth is made more affordable. Let's give them a fair shot at economic opportunity. Let's give all of the students who are aspiring now in high school, at Bassett or elsewhere, the opportunity to have a fair shot. I'm going to briefly hold here some of what has been said to me. There's no end in sight. I feel like I will never escape this. I don't own a home. I can't. I just work to pay my loan. These messages, and I'm going to bring them again to the floor, are from the heart of Connecticut. The presiding officer could do the same from Hawaii. Every member of this body could come to the floor with these same messages from the students and graduates of America, the innovators and creators, the home builders and family men and women who simply want a fair shot for themselves and their children. If there is anything that can be done for struggling families with student loan debt, please help. Let's help. Let's give them a fair shot. Thank you, Madam President.